praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Each and every day. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Each and every day. I want to know why you don't fight so.
The Virgin Isle is a garden with the palm trees bowing. The Virgin Isle is a garden with the trade winds blowing. The views from the hilltops and the white sands down on the shore, inviting the tourists to stay here forevermore. Yeah, she say inviting the tourists to stay here forevermore. I said this is natural beauty. You can't find this thing in no big city. This is natural beauty. You can't find this thing in New York City. People from America, England and France, they come in style just to stay in the Virgin Isle. The Virgin Isle is a garden with the palm trees bowing. The Virgin Isle is a garden with the trade winds blowing. The views from the hilltops, the white sands down on the shore, inviting the tourists to stay here forever.
We look out for the tourists because we know the tourists are our bread and butter. So when they come here, we take care of them, you know? And that's how it is. We are friendly people, we are caring people, but we don't want our island to be destroyed. We want to hold on to it.
Trees bowing, the Virgin Isle is a...
I came up in a time when the environment was still intact. When the BVI was still the Blue Lagoon. It was still the Garden of Eden. When you didn't have to go beyond the harbor to catch your fish.
The Virgin Isle is a garden. When my grandmother was here, it would appear that they had it tough because they had to do everything manually. But they were happy. When the day is done, they sleep like a top. People don't sleep like a top in the Virgin Islands no longer.
In my opinion, the BVI on a whole is one of the most beautiful places on the earth. You look at the water, even though we have a lot of development, the water is still in pretty good shape. We have excellent weather because of where we're actually located for the trade winds. But if we continue to mash it up and think that, oh, it can just correct itself after a while, the environment can only take so much. It has a carrying capacity, and when that is reached, my fear is what is going to happen to us, the people who are from here and have to live with the consequences of past governments.
Somebody got to say, look, man, we are screwing up, you know? And most people is on a salary, they can't talk, they can't do anything, or they're in the wrong party. And me, I say, well, come from here and here. But ain't no party, no. Because what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren and yours and yours. And
the pace of change in the BVI is faster than ever. A strong economy, more cars, and the demand for new housing are all increasing pressure on the environment. A beautiful environment draws visitors from around the world, fuels the economy, and provides for our children. The very scarcity of the beauty found in the BVI only increases its value, but it needs to be managed wisely to ensure something is left for the future.
in the middle of an island, they're in the middle of an ocean, lots of time for sale.
We're at a critical time. The decisions that we make now will have severe impacts 10, 20, 15, 30 years down the line. Right now, what we need to find is a balance between development and conservation / preservation of what resources we have left.
We in the middle of this island, it is Paradise Island, with lots of time for sailing and walking barefoot in the sands. And they clapped and had a good time, so I asked the chairman if I could sing one more song, because I told him I didn't think it is the kids alone need educating. I told him I think that we the adults need educating from time to time. And at this time, the chief minister and all the ministers of government was in the front row. So I sang this little one. We are not smart enough to export no cabbage, but we will import every charter boat's garbage. I said we not smart enough to export no cabbage, but we will import every charter boat's garbage. Tell me if I'm telling any lies. Without an incinerator, we only creating flies. Now just as yours will get over the hump, we voted to turn her into a garbage dump. So tell me if this is not funny. We import garbage while the treasury exports money. One more boss, I gonna make it frank. I think most those boats should have in a holding tank, because the waters is gonna become unfit for people to swim, cause it gonna get filled up with. And the beaches gonna lose their pearl, then the people really gonna call us the third world.
There are 900 charter boats operating in the BVI. Virtually none of their sewage holding tanks are pumped out on shore. Almost all of the waste generated ends up in BVI waters.
Instead of the third world, they make it a third world, right? Yeah. And then you could have do one about the cruise ship. Fellows collecting the sewage and dumping it in the BVI like this porridge. Huh? Mixing into our water system, giving it a different smell, killing the fish, killing the reef, or the coral in the reef. Imagine 1,000 or so guests on a cruise ship and so many tons of dump right here in up clear blue water around this island of Tortola. Imagine local fellows who love money would sacrifice this beautiful country.
Over 400,000 cruise ship passengers visit the BVI each year, benefiting the economy, but also generating large amounts of human waste. In the past year, some 4,000 gallons of cruise ship waste and oil were illegally dumped on Tortola and then washed into the sea.
Should we be taking waste, whether it be solid waste, liquid waste, what have you, from these ships when they visit our territory, when we have our own hands are full already?
It was only this year that the government announced that it had been allowing private interests to remove sewage from cruise ships and get paid for that. Well, the BVI has no sewage treatment facility. And if you think about, here we have Tortola's population of about 20,000 people. We have over 300,000 people visiting every year on cruise ships alone. And we're taking all of that sewage and pumping it right into our waters.
Most of the coral reefs that are downstream are now dead, or they have algae that's overgrowing it.
People have been collecting this and allowed to collect this sewage and pump it out to sea, or put it in the existing municipal sewage system, which is pumping it out to sea, for the last 9 years.
In February 2006, The BVI government said it would no longer allow cruise ship waste to be dumped in the territory. Despite years of study, there is still no national sewage processing system.
I think in the history of this country, the most people that have ever been here is probably was here now.
It has a construction boom that's actually started now. In places that never had roads, you now have roads. And then like you pass today, you won't see a house. You pass back a month later, and then you just see the bottom foundation is up.
You know, we cutting roads everywhere. We're not paving them. We're not using the proper erosion control and seemingly little things that have big repercussions at the end of the chain.
One of the last remaining salt ponds on Tortola at Josias Bay is now threatened by construction. Naomi Peterson runs a cafe there.
But my concern personally is saving the pond. We need the change, we need the development, but enough. You don't need to overdo it. And with the development, you don't need to develop to destroy your natural environment. And I don't have to be a college graduate to know this. My common sense tell me that this isn't good. And all the people that come want to know how in the world could we allow something like this was, destroying the environment.
A lot of people view salt ponds as smelly, unsightly areas, and basically they should be covered up. Now, when we start to explain to them why the salt ponds are actually there, the salt ponds are there, well, some people refer to them as the lungs of the land. They trap the sediment for whatever development process that you're doing. Now, if you cover up the salt pond loses the capability to actually function in the way that it should.
So we're accelerating the natural processes of a salt pond turning into dry land by increasing the amount of sediments that are going into it. But in the immediate time frame, that's less of a concern than what actually ends up on the coral reefs. And in the 15 years I've been here, the coral reefs around Tortola have degraded immensely. It's very hard to find a place where I can take, for example, my students out to look at a coral reef on Tortola.
So basically what we explain to the students is, okay, you have somebody building a house up on a hill. Us in our infinite wisdom decided that we're going to cover the salt pond. The sediment is now washed into the marine environment. You now have another problem. You have the problem of sedimentation on your seagrass beds and your coral reefs. And then we ask them basically, okay, what foods do you eat from the sea? And they start off, oh, Miss O'Neill, we eat conch, we eat yellowtail. And then I'm like, no salt ponds, no yellowtail, no conch, no lobster.
So economically, in the short-term sense, it makes sense to use salt ponds for building sites. But no one had really thought about the long-term benefits and the ecological services that ponds provide.
Along with the salt ponds, the coastal mangroves protective barrier is also disappearing, exposing land to erosion and reducing its ability to withstand hurricanes.
The entire south coast of Tortola was once mangrove. There's very little of that left. The estimates for Tortola as far as the coastal fringe of mangroves is that 75 to 80% of the coastal fringe has been cleared away, again, since about the 60s. And this is now spreading to other islands.
What are people talking about mangrove? You're surprised to see the kind of fish in there. You know, the fish. The young ones, plus they have the big ones there too. You know, they went in, they lay the eggs or whatever. Thousands of them in there. Because, mangrove roots to come together like, like a protection. The other big fish no can't go in and get them, so it's a beautiful thing. Our lobsters, crabs, and all things in mangroves, yeah.
Without your mangroves, you have no potfish, no reef fish. And a lot of people, especially the older folks, and even some of the younger folks, fish is one of our mainstays, one of our main protein sources.
Mangrove is pretty good, but you see, what we're gonna do? Development, people, they don't care nothing about mangroves no more. I noticed too that in Tortola, they're starting to plant, try to get mangroves to grow back in pipes or something like that. But that'll take forever. These mangroves, what was dug out, those things were there since the island was made, I guess, creation time. But it just disappeared.
Beef Island is one of the most environmentally unique areas in the BVI, home to rare and endangered birds and marine life. It is also the site of the largest private real estate project ever proposed in the territory, sprawling over 640 acres, an exclusive 18-hole golf course, 600 vacation villas, and 2 large marinas are planned. The development will cover 70% of the island, transforming Beef Island forever and limiting public access.
Beef Island, it goes back to a long way of tradition. Way back, as far as you know, you have the world, have a lot of tradition here, and it's still having it because of this particular area here that the fish them come and breed and relax and everything, and you can come and get a pound of fish, or pick up a conch or wilk, or you can see the beautifulness of the early ancient days of the mangroves and so forth. You see how history was in the early days. That's what Beef Island is so unique about.
We are talking about the last remaining intact marine ecosystem probably on the southern coast of Patola and Beef Island. Critical to fisheries, critical to tourism, areas that for over 20 years have been identified as needing to be protected.
My only concern is there are development projects that are slated to go on Beef Island. And when they start their projects, what impact will they have on Hans Creek and fishing in the BVI as a whole, as the importance of it being a nursery area?
Hans Creek runs along the south shore of Beef Island. This mangrove lagoon is designated as a marine protected area. It is also the most productive breeding ground for fish and shellfish in the BVI. 62 different species of fish breed here. Under the proposed development, it will be completely surrounded by a golf course and new construction.
Golf courses in general have been highly problematic because the first thing we need to do is cut down all the mangroves and the trees, which are what protects the land and retains the soil and allows nutrients of, well, carbon really, to feed the reef. So first we get rid of that, plant grass, and then in order to make the grass grow we need to add water and fertilizers and often pesticides, and of course all of that washes into the sea and fertilizes and kills, in the case of pesticides, the species that are living there. So in my opinion, there's no way for that system, the protected area, to survive in its current condition with a golf course where it's proposed to be.
Every government wants to, at the end of their term, show that, hey, I've done something. I can't answer and say why they would want to choose to put something like Hans Creek and put a golf course within that particular area. To me, it doesn't make good common sense, because that is one of the places where a juvenile lobster, a juvenile conch, a juvenile yellowtail, when you go and you disrupt that ecosystem, what repercussions are you going to have? I mean, you can clearly see your fishing industry is going to decline.
All 6 salt ponds on Beef Island development property, home to 55 different species of birds, will be impacted. The largest, Bluff Bay Salt Pond, will be eliminated. Dredged out for a proposed 200 slip marina to be built next to this marine protected area.
It's so beautiful here. And I hope that we could keep it for another 100 years to come. So it's a very good habitat, but if we lose it, it's gone.
Just